I had very few memories of my childhood. There's nothing there. It's like it's blank. For years, I had the voice in my head that said, today's a good day to die.
There's a lot more going on than we see, touch, and feel. One of the things people come to me a lot for is my ability to tune into other people.
I can't even go to my hometown because I don't know who did what to me.
You're like pushing stuff away from you, and I just get trouble. I think you were punished.
When you have no memories, it could have been anybody.
Like that, you just want to make sure everything's okay.
No, you don't. I was 12 years old, and I was standing underneath this cottonwood tree. It was like I just woke up, and I'm looking around. I know the people that I live with, but I have no memories of them. I was born and raised in Kansas in a little small town called Rush Center. I had very few memories of my childhood. At 12 years old, I had 4 or 5 disjointed memories that made no sense. My brothers and I all got bused to different schools. All I know is that they would be in school, and hours later I would come out of this barn and make my way home, and nobody ever questioned why I wasn't in school. Even as an adult, I would have dreams of walking by the barn half naked, like completely disassociated from my memories. I have no memories of any kind of family meal, any holidays. There's nothing there. Because of evidently the things that happened when I was real little, there was no sexual boundaries. So whoever wanted to have sex with me would just tell me they wanted to have sex with me, and I didn't even know until I was 33 I had the right to say no. For years, I had the voice in my head that said, today's a good day to die, and it was every day. I've been through cognitive therapy. I've quit the drugs. You know, I worked every day, raised a child, but I still never felt complete. And I think if I had some of the memories, I could work on stuff, or it wouldn't define me. And I don't want it to define me anymore.
We've been told that we're our bodies, and that's where the conversation ends. And I think we all know that that's really not true. There's a lot more going on than we can, see, touch, and feel right away. But once you develop your senses a little bit more, you get a sense on how much more there is.
I'm Paul Selig. I'm a working channel and intuitive.
The experience that I have is primarily telepathic and energetic.
I work primarily as a clairaudient, which means that I hear.
One of the things people come to me a lot for is my ability to tune into other people, and usually with a name and a question, I can step into somebody else. When I first started hearing, I had studied a form of energy healing, and I had my hands on people, and then I started to hear things. Occasionally, a voice would pop out of there. I'd hear Frank, and I finally learned to say, "Who's Frank?" And the person said, "Oh, that's my father." And what happened for me, and I'm very grateful for this, is that the box got opened. And I learned only that the information that I was getting was accurate because I got the validation from the other person. I can't say that I understand it. I don't know how this happens. I just know that when it happens, it's happening, and you know it, because the energy comes through in a way that's very physically palpable for people.
I want to see if he can see any memories. Good, the bad, the ugly, I don't care. The truth is better than not knowing. And they're my memories, and if anybody has a right to them, I do. Hi, I'm Raquel.
I'm Paul, welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Have a seat.
Thank you.
So I'll tell you a little bit about how I work. I hear, and when I hear, I tend to whisper the words to myself and then repeat them. I primarily work with the living. Occasionally, people that have crossed over will come through, too. Sometimes I may be hearing my guides, and then I'm pretty much just taking dictation.
That's my job. I'm literally sitting there and repeating what's being said to me.
So I'm just going to be quiet for a minute, all right? This is you. And you're holding on. You're like, help, get me out of here. You're like pushing stuff away from you. You're pushing stuff away. feel this. And you're like, I don't want to feel this. I don't know what this is about. This is just the first thing that they're giving me. And it's like, I know. You're going like, I know, but I don't want to see it. And there's stuff that you're actually sort of prohibiting. I'm asking questions. You don't want to know who did what. You want to know who you are. And they're saying, now ask your questions. What do you want? How can I help you today? And they're saying, now ask your questions. What do you want? How can I help you today?
I want to know about my childhood.
Read yourself. 4. I go to age 4, just so you know. I go to age 4, and they're giving me 4. I don't want to look. And again, I don't want to look. People, trouble. And I just get trouble. People can't hear me. People can't hear me. And I don't know whose hand this is. My own hand and his hand. My own hand and his hand. I don't know what this is about, but there's a sense of actually being withheld. Now, I'm going to interrupt because we can go to people, we can go to names, we can go in through relationships.
3 brothers.
Okay, let me go to the names.
Daniel.
Who's the youngest one? Is Daniel? Let me see if I can get him. He's very different. Mm-hmm. He's like, whoa. He's spooked by this. This spooks him. He wants to, take stuff off. I feel like I got covered in something that I don't want on me. He's like you. Don't tell me what happened. Don't tell me what happened. Same issue, I think. There's similar issues.
He had a paper route, and one of the men in the town wouldn't pay for his newspaper until my brother had sex with him. My mother was such an angry, violent person that instead of him telling my mother what was going on, he just went with it.
Talk about it because we're not allowed. And I get we can't talk about it because we're not allowed. Blame. And there's a lot of blame coming through this. Mother's name, please. What's your mom's name, please?
Elsie Marie.
Let me see if I can get her. You'll tell me. She looks away from you. She's like, don't tell me what happened. I'm not going to hear it. I don't want to hear this. Don't tell me what happened. This is you, angry. You're really angry. I'm going to be honest with you. You're really angry. And you're blaming a woman. You're blaming her because you have a good grudge to hold. Because you have a good grudge to hold. It's not true. She denies it. If you would claim abuse, is this true? Would she deny it? Like it didn't happen. It didn't happen the way you said. I also hear it didn't happen the way you said. And what happened was worse. It's almost like what happened, I think, was worse. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if they're going to tell you who did what. She needs to know who she is. But they're saying she needs to know who she is, or she can try to be free. And they're saying we want her to be free. She's allowed to be. She's allowed to be. She doesn't know it. She's the only one that doesn't know it. That's not the name she was given. And they just said that's not the name she was given. Claim the name you have. And what was the name you grew up with? Mikhail,
I grew up with the name Shelley.
Okay. That's really important. Okay, I need that name.
I won't even talk to people when they call me by that name anymore.
This is what somebody just said to me. How can you have her memories if you won't even claim her name? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
She holds the key. Because she holds the key. When you have did what, you want to know who you are. You don't want to know who did what. You want to know who you are. Know who you are. You can stand on your own. If you know who you are, you can stand on your own. It's like my rose dinner. Whatever happened. It's not going to change. It's not going to change. The issue is who you are today. And you got your name back. And you got your name back. So they're smiling. And they're saying you'll know who you are soon. Use the name. You'll find out how fast it comes. Use the name. You'll find out how fast that comes. You're free if you want to be. And they just said you're free if you want to be. That's up to you. That's up to you. I hope it was helpful.
It was.
I'm glad. It was very interesting to find out that she had completely disassociated herself from her name and her history. Until you claim who you are, you can't have your memory, And essentially what she had done was segment her childhood from the rest of her life.
In giving up that name, I also gave up the vulnerable, innocent person that I am at the same time and tried to be hard.
My guides were trying to give her the techniques to reclaim herself and reclaim her history so that she could be present. I think if they were to have handed that to her, that's not nearly as impactful.
Inside, I feel so much lighter. With the commitment of taking back on the name of Shelley, I have something to work on. I moved here to Truth or Consequences almost 2 years ago. I felt safe here, like nobody knew me, and I could start afresh and start anew. I sat there and thought of all the reasons why I didn't want to live in Kansas no more. I knew I wasn't going back. I'm a camp host at an RV park. I just make sure that people behave themselves and keep their dogs in control. My daughter is now living next door to me.
We're really close. We always have been. It's more like we're best friends than mother and daughter. I try to do everything I can to make sure she's happy and not in pain.
Her and I have a very close relationship. I did not want to raise her like I was raised.
I know my grandma was kind of a nasty woman.
She told me that I blamed her. She says, well, it's your own damn fault you got molested anyway. My daughter and I have talked extensively about my memories and my abuse.
Paul told her to use her childhood name, Shelley. She has hated that name with a passion. Every time somebody says it, it's like, you know, the past is thrown back in her face.
Since Paul encouraged me to start becoming Shelley and just really exploring myself again. Like I said, I can look in mirrors now and I see somebody who's pretty and vibrant. I'm not obsessive about my past, I'm just processing it. The last time I actually talked to anybody in Rush County was 16 years ago.
In order to fully reclaim the name Shelley, she needs to face what happened through the eyes of the adult that survived the experience, and that means going back to Kansas. And we'll see what happens. The memory should come.
When I come back from Kansas, it'll be cleansed in a different way. I'm nervous. It hit me about 3 o'clock this morning. Okay. I think when I go back to Rush Center, no matter whether I get more memories back or get any answers, I don't want to carry anything back with me. I don't know what's, how my mind's going to act, how my emotions are going to be.
That's the reason why I left.
I had no idea who it was.
When you have no memories, it's like everybody.
It could have been anybody. Here it is.
Oh, wow.
God, I am really sick to my stomach.
What can I do to help?
Remind me of who I am if I forget. We're heading into Alexander. This is the school I went to in kindergarten and first grade. The reoccurring dreams I had of being naked on the school bus. This is the school it was taking me to. God, I want to remember. I didn't realize it was going to be so tore up. I don't remember the school play, but I remember all of us getting in the car except for Mom. Mom would not come. She refused to come here to any school activities. That's a regained memory. The most significant thing that came out of the reading with Paul is when he told me what happened to me happened to my brother.
He's like you. Don't tell me what happened. Don't tell me what happened.
I think it may have been a little better for her knowing that he was a victim too.
I'm really nervous about seeing Daniel.
My name's Daniel Jackson. I presently live in Hutchinson, Kansas. I've lost contact with Shelley in 1984. Just trying to reconnect with family. It puzzles me as to why that I and Shelley are the same time frame, have pretty much the same voice.
I was picking up a dynamic in a family where people did not want to have this conversation. Something did happen.
I think that's my brother.
How you doing, girl? Hey, your hair's growed out, kid.
Yep.
I appreciate the involvement. It's not really curiosity, but a fulfillment of my own desire to know what the hell happened to us. Ever since Shelley contacted me, I'm racking my brain, if you will.
The person I went and seen in New York, Paul, he said what happened to me happened to you.
I believe it. He's hit on a nerve, and it's a raw nerve. Something has happened to the both of us, probably by the same person. Someone of authority that our mom and dad taught us to trust.
There was a cop that was in town. His wife worked at the restaurant as a waitress, and they wanted me to start babysitting their kids. I remember him taking me in the bedroom and looking at his wall, and then I'd black out. And I remember him coming in the back door, and I remember him telling his boys to go play, and he would take me into his bedroom. And that's all I ever remembered was the French doors and something hanging on the wall. But I never could remember what the something was. And yesterday I remembered that the something was 2 sets of handcuffs. I had not remembered that at all before in my past. Today's gonna be real intense. The last time I spoke to my mother was 16 years ago.
For several years, I've been kind of a go-between between my mom and grandma. I've attempted to get them to talk, but
I can't believe after 16 years she still doesn't want to see me. I'm gonna face all the memories, and I'm gonna go back, and it's not gonna be no more. I'm never gonna talk about it again. I'm never gonna cry over it again. I wanna start living. Too.
we're in Rush Center, sitting outside of my grandma's house. I'm gonna go in and talk to her. I'm gonna at least try.
It'd just be a fight with my mom. You always blame me. The only thing you can give your husband your virginity, and now what do you have to give a man? Barn would have been here. I'd remember her being so anxious to go to school. What was I so afraid of? What happened here? I miss this place so bad.
Oh my God. She seems to think that there's nothing that my mom needs to remember. My grandma looked me in the eye and said everything that had happened to my mother was an absolute fabrication.
That's how some people deal with it. It didn't happen, didn't exist, doesn't happen.
We've had several calls on you guys. Do you have family here?
Yeah.
Where at?
Right here.
You just want to make sure everything's okay.
No, you don't. No, you don't. One of my abusers was your f***ing local cops. Why don't you be more concerned about your jobs and protecting children?
She just really lost it. I've never really seen my mom get that bad. And she didn't know who I was for a little while. That was a little scary.
She know cops are a trigger. She called the cops on purpose. That scream has been buried inside of me a very long time. I never wanted my daughter to see that in me. I've been hitting something. I don't even remember. It's all integrated. I'm back. I'm here. Said it would almost be easier if Mom was right.
You may not have got all the answers you want, but I think you learned a couple things today.
Yeah. When she told my daughter that I made it all up, it's like that was my truth. She never believed me.
Grandma will never change.
And the memories I do have, she's not going to take away from me.
Now that she's been here and faced some things, I think in the long run, this has helped her immensely.
Some therapists have told me the reason why you're still so damaged is because you've never dealt with the emotional part of it.
She's my mom and I love her. It doesn't matter what happened to her in her past. She's still trying. I'm really proud of her for that, and that will never change.
I'm going to be okay. I made it this far, and I made it through confronting it all. So it can only get better. I'm going to stay Shelley for a while and see.
Shelley, are you there?
Hi, Paul. Well, we went back to Kansas.
I hear you've had quite an adventure.
Yes, it was definitely an adventure.
They're saying, you decide you're safe and you're safe. It's not about blame anymore. I know who I am. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know what I am. It's about freedom. It's about freedom. You have only just begun to know yourself, to know yourself. You have the freedom here. You have the freedom here. Choose it, choose it, choose it. They're saying choose it, choose it, choose it. But she's on a search. There's no question. But she's the one she's looking for.
Thank you, Shelley, for surviving.